Hello. So the one thing that I always wanted to do was learn how to make butter. I see it in the stores, and I said, "There's got to be a way to do it." I went on, so I decided to go on YouTube and figure out how to make homemade butter, and I have learned how to do it. I found it was very easy, and there's nothing better than eating your own homemade food. Something so simple as butter, and it tastes so good. So that's what we're going to do today is make homemade butter. You just need a couple of items. Main thing you need is heavy whipping cream. You buy whatever brand you want, a good quality heavy whipping cream. Most of the time I use whatever is the store brand that I go to. Unfortunately, they were out of heavy whipping cream, so I bought this one, and we're gonna see how it works with it. I'm going to use a mixer using the whisk apparatus, and we're gonna need some bowls with ice cold water in it. This should take about 15 minutes to whip up, to make, and as we go along, I will show you what the different stages that it goes through as it is whipped into butter. So we're gonna go ahead and do it. You're gonna pour your heavy whipping cream into your bowl. You start off slow so that you're not splashing your milk all over the place. Come along with me and enjoy making homemade butter. Okay, so far it had been going for a minute, so you see the state that it's in of its whipping, and we're gonna continue whipping it. As you can see, it's getting thicker and thicker. I just wanted to stop it so you can see the consistency of it, how thick it is now. Okay, so far it has been about 5 minutes of mixing. It's getting thicker. Starting to look like whipped cream, like you would buy in the store. So if you wanted to do whipped cream, this would be the same process. You would just stop when it gets the consistency of whipped cream. You notice it, you'll start seeing a hint of yellow as it starts to separate and break down. That means we're getting closer and closer to having butter. You're starting to see a hint of yellow. See how thick it is now? You know you have butter when it becomes a clump and suddenly it separates and you have buttermilk and you see the butter is totally separated. I'm gonna stop so that I can make sure I push it down on the sides of the bowl. So this is like about the consistency of a whipped cream. So if you wanted whipped cream, you of course would add some vanilla and powdered sugar to this and mix it up and you would have whipped cream. But we're gonna continue on because we want butter. Okay, I decided to change out from the whisk to the mixer so that the butter wouldn't get stuck inside the whisk. As you can see, you're starting to see it clumping, and I'm starting to see separation of the milk, the buttermilk from the butter. Starting to see separation, starting to hear sloshing because the milk is separating. And we have butter. Now what we need to do is separate the butter from the milk. And this is when your colander comes in place. All right, so we got separation. I took it off my mixer. And what we're going to do is, since we now have buttermilk separated from the butter, we need to strain all that milk off the butter. So we're just gonna put it in our strainer. Go ahead and put in our strainer. Now what we're going to do is we need to wash the butter. We have all this butter here. We need to wash it. And the way you wash it is you stick it in. We're gonna use ice cold water so that our warm hands do not melt this butter. So after I get this off my blade here, we're going to take it and we're going to put it in ice cold water and wash it off. The reason why you do this is because there is still milk on it, and if you leave milk on the butter, it can cause the butter to go bad fast. So we're washing it off. And as you can see, the water is milky because it has butter that has the milk in it. So we're just gonna squeeze and get all that butter. Squeeze it and get all that milk out of the butter. Squeeze it, squeeze it. Ice cold. Ooh. My hands are cold, so now my warm hands will not be melting this butter. but it will remain pliable so that we can squeeze it and get all of that milk out of the butter. And once you've done that, then we're gonna get a second ice cold bowl of water and continue to rinse the milk out of the butter so that it does not spoil. We want our butter, our homemade butter, to last as long as possible. It has no preservatives in it, so it's key that you get all of that milk out. So you'll do that until my water is still a bit cloudy. So I'm gonna do it one more time. Ice cold water until my water is clear, remains clear. Squeeze, 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 getting milk out of your butter. All right, so we have a nice ball of butter. They say, hit it, I still see milk. I'm squeezing it, and I still see milk dripping out of it. So we're gonna rinse again. Trying to get that milk, as much milk as possible out of our butter so it will last. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay. All right, so we have our butter washed. Now what we need to do is add some salt, because this is, of course, unsalted butter. One reason, of course, you do salt in here is, of course, we want flavor, but also salt can help your butter last longer. So I'm going to do about half a teaspoon of salt, and now we have to just mix it into our butter. Mix it in. And we're mixing it into our butter. Thoroughly mix it up so that, also you want some recipes that you may be making call for salted butter. So you want to go ahead and have your butter salted. Mix it up thoroughly. And after you have thoroughly mixed up your butter, then whatever dish you're going to put it in, I'm going to use some parchment paper, make it whatever mold, or you can put it in a bowl, a serving bowl if you're going to use this for a meal. But I'm going to put mine on parchment paper. Go ahead and create my mold. I have my parchment paper. There. Mix my butter. You may notice the next day, after you have allowed your butter to sit a bit, you may notice that sometimes the water will separate, which is good, separate from the butter. So don't be surprised that you may see some separation later on when you go back to look at your butter. And this is homemade butter. Another thing that you need to do after you have made your homemade butter is take a slice of that homemade bread that you made. This is what I made over the weekend. I made some bread, and I am going to get some of my butter. I'm gonna put it on my bread, and I'm gonna enjoy. Nothing like homemade bread and homemade butter. better than the store. Delicious. Bon appetit. Enjoy.